Hello everyone, today we are going to introduce the graphic novel Distinction, which is based on the sociological theory of
Pierre Bourdieu.
At the beginning of the story, the substitute teacher Kiki asks his students about their favorite music, movies, clothes, and hobbies. The students believe that these preferences are simply personal choices. However, Kiki challenges this idea. He asks the students why people from similar backgrounds often enjoy similar things. Why do some people like classical music while others prefer pop music? Why do some people visit museums while others do not? Through these questions, Kiki introduces the main idea of the book. Our tastes are not completely individual. They are influenced by our family, education, and social environment. This idea becomes the starting point for understanding how social class affects our everyday lives.
To explain social class, Kiki compares different family homes. First, he walks into a high-class home. They have high economic and cultural capital. The living room isn't centered around a TV. Instead, it looks like a space meant for conversation. In the corner of the living room, there is a bookshelf nearby and a cozy spot for reading. Everything is so intentional and meticulous. Every single detail is done with great care. Even the kitchen floor features decorative patterns. Next to the fireplace, the firewood is neatly stacked, with absolutely zero dust or tree bark. And the mother looks flawless. Her clothes are neat and her makeup is perfect. Based on the above, we can infer that this family is able to hire a house cleaner to keep the house clean. It sends a clear message. We have the time, the money, and the knowledge to live a life shows good taste. The house is designed not only for living, but also for displaying culture and knowledge. Then Kiki steps into a working class home. They have less economic and cultural capital. Here, life is about comfort, useful, and survival, not showing off. As you can see, different from the high-class home, TV is the center of the living room here. Instead of perfectly matched designer furniture, you see things that are practical, heavy, and well-worn. There are far fewer cultural objects on display because the focus is on what is real, warm, and useful. Teacher Kiki explains that the difference is not simply about money. These homes reflect fundamentally different lifestyles and values. The rich use their homes to show distinction and control, while the working class focuses on necessity and function. These non-financial resources are passed from generation to generation, helping people gain advantages or face barriers in society.
Another example in the comic is food. Kiki explains that people from different social groups often have different ideas about what makes food enjoyable. Some people appreciate elegant restaurants, artistic presentation, and fine dining experiences. Others value large portions, affordable prices, and meals that are filling and practical. At first, the students think these differences are simply personal preferences. However, Kiki argues that our eating habits are influenced by our living conditions and social experiences. People who grow up in different environments learn to appreciate different things. The comic shows that even something as ordinary as food can reflect social class and cultural background. This example helps readers understand that taste is connected to society in many ways.
Then, the comic also explores how education can reproduce social inequality. Before we continue, do you think hard work always leads to success? At first, many students believe that success in school depends mainly on talent and hard work. However, Kiki challenges this idea. He argues that success is influenced not only by effort, but also by cultural capital. He explains that some students grow up in families where reading is a daily habit, visiting museums is a regular activity, and conversations about politics, history, or culture are common at the dinner table. Because of this experience, these students become familiar with the knowledge, language, and behaviors that schools often value. Meanwhile, other students may be just as hardworking, but they do not have access to the same cultural resources. So when the teacher asks students to analyze a novel or discuss a social issue, they may feel less confident expressing their opinions. As a result, students who already possess cultural capital often have an advantage in school, even when other students work just as hard. Through this example, Kiki shows that educational success is influenced by more than individual ability. Family background also plays an important role. And that's why social inequality can continue from one generation to the next.
At the end of the comic, Kiki explains the concept of distinction. People often use taste to separate themselves from others. For example, they may judge others based on their music preferences, fashion choices, hobbies, or ways of speaking. Certain tastes are considered more sophisticated or more prestigious than others. Because of this, taste becomes a way of expressing social status. According to Bourdieu, these judgments are not natural. They are shaped by social structures and power relationships. The main message of the comic is that taste is not simply a matter of personal choice. It is closely connected to social class, cultural capital, and inequality. After reading this graphic novel, we started to question many things that we once considered personal choices. Maybe our tastes say more about our social background than we realize. Thank you for listening.